Have you ever watched a video where the guy chunks all the buffs possible and then he proceeds to do insane damage? Then you are like, wow, I have to make that build and try it out. Then you enter the game, you have the same build with the same items, talisman, buffs, the same everything. And suddenly you hit the boss and you only did 8,000. Instead of that, 30,000. Now is when you are confused. Why after using the same items, the same buffs, and the same everything, you do way less damage? You check your build, watch the video again, and even after not failing the first strike and using the same buffs, you just don't get it. Well, this is mostly because you do not know the build, neither how the damage works in the game. But do not worry, because I am going to explain the maths behind this build from the beginning, showing you all the calculations and the final damage formula of all the talisman, buff and gear that affects the damage of this build. First of all, the purpose of this video is teaching. I want to show you how to analyze a build and I want to use Elden RIng as an example. Despite it seems easy to make a build, it can actually get complicated once you start stacking effects. With that said, let's finally begin. Let's talk about enemies' defense. All the enemies in the game have a defense value and a resistance percent value. The defense decreases the damage taken by a small fixed value. It is around 100 for most enemies. For Skises, it is 114 and for Radagon, 121. This is a logarithm scale. They are blocking around 56 damage each time we hit them. Not sure if because I used seamless co-op for testing, but this value did not matter at all unless I made Radagon have 10,000 base defense. They also have resistance, which decreases your damage by a percent. Radagon has 0% fire, but 80% holy. Basically, a fire hit of 10 remains 10, but 10 holy goes down to 2. This is important, because when you are making a build, the first thing you need to know is the enemy you are using it against. My test dummy will be Radagon, again because he has 0% fire resistance and make things more simple. For those tests, I used my seamless co-op save and enabled good mode with cheat engine. I could hit Radagon and change my equipment. I also changed his HP value so he remains calm without doing his shenanigans. And the spell I am going to use is the Giant's Flame spell. Let's start by seeing the damage without any talismans and any kind of equipment for both Unchurch and Church. Where does this damage come from? If we look at our seal, we can see it has an incantation scaling. This is augmented by 20% thanks to the seal's passive. If we get the damage value and we divide it by the potency, we get the multiplication of the spells. Now you are going to see the damage with each talisman used individually, with the percent buff and the fixed value between brackets. When I had those individual values, I started to mix them. I used Canvas plus Godfrey, and well, sadly I cannot give the exact calculation for this talisman. I have tried to do the calcs in a different way as you can see on the screen, but the closest thing is what you can see right here. I guess there is some kind of internal rounding that is messing this up. The difference is not that much, but I really want to show the exact numbers. For other calculations, I will use the in-game value of 1606, because this way I actually get the exact numbers the game displays. If by casualty you know the exact calculation, please leave a comment and I'll check it out. I am now curious about this and I would like to provide detailed information. With that said, let's continue. The values with Fire Scorpion and Blood Exultation are those. As you can see, the second talisman is also buffing the Canvas one, which means Canvas talisman is directly buffing our spells based damage alongside Godfrey icon. Those two talismans do not affect the others, at least considering the order I did those calculations. But Fire Scorpion and Blood Exultation do, which means they are multiplicative. With 3 talismans I got those values, and with all 4 talismans I got this damage, which is this formula. This formula makes us realize some talismans are multiplicative with themselves. Putting talismans to aside, we can move to our buffs, which are 3. Golden Bow, Flame Grant Me Strength, Sacred Order on the other hand. If you have followed me to this point, it is fairly easy, because the spells buff the damage after all talismans have been applied. Once more, here you have the values of them both individually and mixed. The last thing to add to this equation is a flask. Now, with all our buffs, talismans, flask and everything, The final value is our total damage, moving from the base value of 1293 to 4718. And this is the final equation with all our talisman, buffs and magic flask effects at once. And probably you are thinking, wait, hold on. You did nearly 13,000 to the dragon. Keep in mind, I have not applied enemy resistance yet. In the case of Escases, he has minus 100% fire resistance, which means he gets twice as fire damage. On top of that, if you hit his head, you get an additional 50% damage. And again, those bonuses are multiplicative. The equation for this part is this one. And when you put this on the calculator, you get 14,000. Wait a second. What do you mean 14,000? Because in the test, in the video, I did 12,000, nearly 13,000. Where is this damage coming from? When I saw this, I watched the equation again. I quickly noticed what was happening. For some reason, the 10% buff from Sacred Blade did not apply. I repeated the process and this time it actually applied. So I am not sure at all why it did not before, but probably some janky interaction with all the buff. This is actually good because thanks to all those calculations and this formula, I managed to find a mistake on the build and fix it. And believe me, the only moment I noticed there was something wrong is when I did all the calculations and I saw those 40,000 damage. Until that, I thought I did it correctly. With the build done, we can answer the following question. What happened before and why only around 8,000 damage? If we look at the two fragments, the only difference is the buff order. In the good example, I always use Flask and Golden Order first, but in the bad example, I use Blood Exultation and Flame Grant Me Strength first. Those two buffs expire the moment I am about to hit the boss. Let's not forget, Sacred Blade was not being applied, so I am losing even more damage there. Just keep in mind, I lost 3 buffs and I lost nearly half of my damage. That's why using them in the correct order it's really important. There is nothing more to say. Thank you so much for staying till the end. I hope you have a great day.